Yene Damtew is a 20-plus year industry veteran. She's a stylist, hair loss specialist, and the founder and owner of Aesthetics Salon. Today, we're going to hear her story, how she got to where she is, and what is she working on right now, and where is she going to next. Welcome back to the Hairdresser Strong Show. My name is Robert Hughes, and I am your host. And today, I'm with Yene Damtew. How you doing today, Yene?
Hey Robert, I'm well. How are you?
I'm so good. Thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show. I know you're super busy and I really appreciate you taking the time. So I met Yene, for everybody who's listening and watching, I met Yene at the Aveda, like at least in person, the Aveda Career Institute in Arlington. They were having one of their kind of like career days, or career fair things that where, salons go and they get to meet the students, and it was such an honor to meet you, and I'm super excited to finally get together to hear your story. So let's jump right in. Tell us where, like, how and why, where did it all start?
Thank you first and foremost for having me on the show. I know it's been a long time coming with scheduling and trying to get things to align. So thank you so much for having me and allowing me the space and opportunity to tell my story and share my thoughts within this industry with your audience. Started originally a Southern California native that grew up in a small little town called Palma, California, where I grew up, where I started cosmetology school, and started really my career, my client base, practicing at the age of like 13, 14, doing all the neighborhood kids. My parents set up a little salon for me in our garage. And then by the age of 16, decided to go to cosmetology school and really take this industry a little more seriously. But even back then, it was just kind of like, oh, this will be a hobby. It's not going to be something, in addition to going to college, in addition to doing like a full-time regular, going down a traditional trajectory, educational wise, this is just going to be like a side hobby. And so that's how it started. I think when folks ask me like why, I always like to tell people the inspiration and the curiosity of the industry started on Sunday mornings. My mother used to put Conair hot rollers in her hair. And I used to always remember they were like the hard plastic ones with like the teeth. And then there was like this little plastic pick thing that went in. And so on Sunday morning, she would put them in her hair, put a shower cap on, take her shower and come out. And her hair would have these big, full, bouncy curls. And I used to be like, what's going on? Like, it was just something that intrigued me. And I couldn't understand how this device, like these things that she put in her hair, how it got warm. And there was like the heating mechanism, like once you took all the rollers out, you saw like these prongs and you saw this there. Later on, I realized there's like a heating mechanism, but it just intrigued me. It intrigued me to understand the versatility that was possible, specifically with textured hair. And the curiosity opened up. And in the mornings on, Monday through Friday, my mother started work at 6. So she would leave the house by 5:30. So it was my dad, myself, and my brother that would get ready for school. So keeping up with my hair was something that I was responsible for. And so I just, kind of played around. Growing up in the early 90s, back in the day, pigtails and the click clacks and the door knockers and all the different things and the barrettes, all the different styles, braiding my hair. We had Sunday wash day and Sunday hair routine. All of those things just started to become a part of my weekly and day-to-day routine, and tying your hair down. And it's, kind of the story of a lot of little Black girls. But it was where the curiosity began to spark. In the summertime, I would go swimming and my hair would get a little brown and I'd be like, what's going on? Like, how does this happen? Or there used to be a product called Sun-In back in the day. And if you sprayed Sun-In in your hair and then you went outside, like it would lighten. My parents were like, your color's your hair. And I'm like, no, I didn't do anything. I just put this spray in it. So I started realizing at a very early age, all the different things that you could do with your hair and how things shifted and how it could be manipulated. And it really just sparked the curiosity, which led me to, at the age of 16, going into cosmetology school.
Nice. So can you tell us, how did you go to cosmetology school at 16?
So I grew up in a small town, and we had a regional occupational program, and our high school had an agreement with a number of cosmetology schools. The cosmetology schools in our area were generally connected to community colleges, and so I picked I enrolled in the regional occupational program. So my electives for my junior and senior year were to go to cosmetology school. So I went to high school from 7 a.m. until 12 noon. And then I went to cosmetology school from 5 to 10 p.m. Monday through Thursday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Okay, cool. So you got started really young. I mean, I've heard people getting started young, but like that's even younger. So, okay, so tell us, like, you go to cosmetology school, you're still in high school. I'm assuming you finished cosmetology school by the time you get out of high school, right? Is that
No, no.
no?
So what ended up
Okay.
happening is I did my junior year. I went to, I grew up in California, so it was 1,600 hours to get your license. I ended up completing roughly like 700 hours. And then junior year, again, decided I have to go to college still. Like the agreement with my parents was this isn't going to be in replacement of college. So I was like, okay, I need to do extracurricular activities. I need to start thinking about what's going to look good on a college application. And I knew that, traditionally, I think that even today, especially this is like 2005, you don't, there wasn't a lot of respect for trade jobs, right? Like when you think about the trade industry as a whole, people are just kind of like, oh, you're just a hairstylist. And so I wanted to make sure that I was going to get into a good university, and I wanted to make sure that my academics were where they needed to be, but that my extracurricular activity that I participated in looked good and made me a strong applicant when I was applying to college. So I dropped out of cosmetology school, started assisting a young woman by the name of Eve, who did my hair for me, started when she was, I think, same thing, probably age 14, 15. She started braiding my hair, but she was working in a salon. So I started working with her on the weekends so I could still be in the salon environment. And I started thinking about, okay, what am I going to do to make my academics look good? So finished 2 years of junior college. By the time I graduated high school, went to a junior college because I realized, okay, well, the first year at any university is the same, so why spend this extra money? Got my associate's degree, and then decided I really want to do this. Like, this is really what I wanted to do. I was really still being pulled into the salon. I was working in the salon. I was braiding hair. So I said, I'm going to take a semester off that summer, and I'm going to finish cosmetology school. So this is 2008, May 2008 till December 2008. I went back full time, and then I got my cosmetology degree. I sat for state board in January of 2009. And like I said, I had a clientele at this point. I was braiding hair. I was working in the salon. But I told everybody before I transferred to a university in January, I wanted to make sure that my cosmetology degree, my cosmetology certification, my license, and my state board was complete.
Totally. So, I kind of want to take a moment to talk on this topic because this is like, there's this piece about needing to go to college. And you mentioned back then the skills weren't there. I feel like there's an implied understanding about today. I want to kind of double click on this and open this up. So did your parents, were they cool with you because you had the associate's degree? You're like, hey, I got the degree, or were they like, what was that like for you?
I think it's very different. I think every household is different. I'm a child of immigrants, first generation Ethiopian American. My parents came to this country to provide a better life for us. And with what they are told and what most parents, most foreigners come to America for this American dream, we're taught that to be successful, you have to be a doctor or a lawyer or engineer. And so all of your parents are going to want you to go down that traditional trajectory. And so, yes, I had an associate's degree, but still I hadn't completed a 4-year education to have a degree and work in a field that is perceived by society to be esteemed. So because I finished my associates and I just said I'm only taking a semester off, it wasn't as much pushback because it was like, okay, you're only taking, I'm going to transfer in January. So I'm only taking really like summer, May to August, I would have been off regardless. And then it was just September to December that I was taking off before I transferred to a 4-year university in January. So there was less pushback about that. But I do think as a whole, I think with any trade, if you want to go be a chef, or if you want to be a mechanic, or if you want to be a plumber or an electrician. I think that a lot of people push back, a lot of families, a lot of like society pushes back on these industries because they aren't deemed to be prestigious. And what people don't realize is they're all entrepreneur businesses. And the drive, the ambition, the skill set, the business acumen, the bravery that you have to have as an individual to want to go down one of these trades is, for me, way more stronger and way deeper than someone that just decides to be an employee. And there's nothing wrong with just being an employee, but there's a different fight, and I think that there's a different amount of energy because you cannot fail. Like, you are the person that has to do it, and you get to prove people wrong because, again, there isn't as much value placed on these industries, but they're necessities, right? You think about in today's day and age in 2026, and you're seeing AI and you're seeing all of these things. When you think about trades will never go out of style. It's just, I don't care what type of AI technology comes around. You could give me a machine that's going to cut hair all day, any day, but it's never going to replace the human element and the human interaction that is so unique and special about what we get to do as licensed cosmetologists and beauty professionals. Therefore, I think that we have to really emphasize people in our industry. Things like Hairdresser Strong podcast are great platforms to really spotlight and emphasize the work that we do, and it being beyond, the craft of doing hair, but it's also the people skills and the way that we make people feel. And that is something personal that no technology could take away from us.
I love that. You literally stole my next question. I was gonna bring up AI. I wanna, when you said the thing you said about being an employee, I wanna gain clarity. I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you're talking about being an employee as one of these other
Yes.
uh, yeah, professionals. Because like I don't know about you, but like if I want to know like what your thoughts are when I say this. Even if you're an employee, a hairdresser or a barber or esthetician, and you work at a salon as an employee, I still think that you need to have that mindset of I need to build my business, I need to watch my money, I need to think about my numbers. So it's almost like I've always kind of believed that even if you're an employee, you still have your own business, which is your book of business, and you have to take care of that. And if you are complicit, then you will suffer. I don't know if you agree, disagree, have any other things you like to add on that?
100%. We have a team of like roughly 23 people between our front desk, our assistants, our apprentice, and our styling team. And our business model is set up multiple different ways where we have contractors and we also have employees. But one of the things that I always tell, like, you guys work within this umbrella of aesthetics, right? And that's the brand. But individually, you guys are each service providers, and the relationships that you guys have with your clients are relationships that you are responsible to maintain. And I worked at 5 salons, I think, prior to opening my own. And one of the things that I learned is that they're all personal. Yesterday, we had all team training, started the year kickoff training with our team. And I said, regardless if you guys work here, anything that happens when you're at the salon with clientele that needs to be communicated, when it's communicated from you to your clients, it's very different how it's received than if it comes from the front desk. Whether it's something as simple as I had an emergency and I need to move your appointment, it's very different how receptive and how understanding your clients will be based off of your personal relationship, as opposed to the front desk calling and being not dismissive, but just that personal relationship isn't there. So it's extremely important that I tell all of our younger stylists, because we don't hire stylists, we start everyone as an assistant and train them up. And they go through a number of different training courses, and we talk about people skills, the soft skills of how do you understand the people that are sitting in front of your chair, sitting in your chair in front of your mirror, and how do you connect with them individually and give them a personalized experience and get to know them and build that relationship. Understand that soft skills are extremely important. Understand that whatever you do, how much energy you put into this industry and into your clientele is what's going to protect you. I think that when we think back to COVID, and the shutdown in 2020, there were so many people in the beauty industry who really kind of were slapped in their faces with understanding, oh, I really need to understand my book of business. I need to understand my numbers. I need to think about my savings. I need to think about my 401k and all of these things, because even within a salon, I don't think that that's the standard or the tradition. Like in our salon, we don't offer those types of things. We're a small business, but we do bring the education for individuals to do that. I tell everybody, you guys should have you have to have an LLC to be a stylist with us. You have to protect
Oh,
your business. You have to have, you have to think about, maybe it's at a certain, at a certain tax bracket, it's best for you to be an S corp and put yourself on payroll and put certain things under your business and separate so you're not piercing the corporate veil when you have an LLC and all of these things. I did eventually end up going back in 2014, going back locally in Arlington to Marymount University and got my business degree. But I was able to,
congratulations.
thank you. I was able to take what I learned there and apply it to my business and make it make sense for my industry and make it digestible for our team members and for other beauty professionals as we speak, as I mentor, as I, share my insight. But it's extremely important that we understand that even when you're working in someone else's salon, at the end of the day, you are your own brand. The salon could do something positively or negatively, but it's your personal relationship with your client base that you have to think about, maintain, and continue to cultivate and nurture.
I love all that. I love all that. So, what like from getting finishing Cosmo? Okay, so let's go jump back real quick because I want to I want to ask more questions about everything you just said, but I want to make sure we fill in the gaps. So you take the break for from after junior college, and you told did you end up going back to school in that January and transferring?
No. So I ended up enrolling, and then I got an opportunity to relocate to the DMV area. So I enrolled, but something in my intuition was just kind of like, I don't really know if you want to sign up for classes. So I enrolled, and then I was offered an opportunity to move across the country to be an assistant to a gentleman by the name of Johnny Wright, who at the time had an opportunity to work with the first family at the time, the Obamas. And so I relocated April 7th, 2009 to DC. And so I didn't go back to college until January of 2014.
Okay.
So from 2009 April till January 2014, I was an assistant. I was assisting Johnny in salon. I was assisting him with the Obamas, primarily working with the daughters and Mrs. Robinson. And then I was also a stand-in for Mrs. Obama whenever, he was unavailable in 2012. I became her colorist. And at that point, I knew that I wanted to go back and get my degree. And it was really
Uh,
something for me is once I start something, I want to make sure that I complete it. But I also wanted just not to like make my parents proud, but just being like, look, I started this. It's only going to be beneficial. As I got older, I moved when I was 21. I realized that like there's ways to go to college and it be beneficial to me as I thought through, as I grew within the industry and I thought through what I wanted to do next.
totally.
And so I was just like, okay, having a degree won't kill me. So I decided to go back. And then in 2015, I graduated.
Did you keep doing hair? I mean, I'm
Yeah.
assuming you kept your relationship with the Bombas because you still.
Oh, I did hair the whole time. So I would literally
Okay.
be writing papers. Not only was I working with them, I was working in a salon as well. So in between clients, I'm writing papers. In between clients, I'm studying. I was on campus. So I was in school full time and working full time. And what I loved is that Marymount was a commuter school. It was very friendly to people that worked. So, it was interesting. Every start of the semester, there was always something going on that I had to be like, hey, sorry, so I have this really unique situation and I may have to leave early from our first class or I'm going to miss it because of this. But the
Did you ever pull?
university,
I have to do Michelle's hair.
oh no, I mean, that's what it would really would come down to.
Would you say that? in
Yeah,
your,
I absolutely
yeah,
would. Yeah, I
I gotta
absolutely
do
would.
I bet the schools are like, what are you gonna say? You know?
Yeah, so it was just one of those things where it was just I was supported on both ends. I was supported by the clients that I had. I was supported by the school choice that I went to, and I was very transparent. And it's the reality. You have to put in a lot of work to get to where you would like to be. But as long as you're willing to put in the work, you're able to get there. And so it was a lot. It was definitely a lot.
Sounds like a lot.
I didn't have a lot of a social life.
Right.
But I knew it was a temporary sacrifice. Like I said, I finished by the end of I graduated. It was 3 semesters because I went in the summer months as well and in the winter months. And so I walked May 2015.
Okay. So did you you said earlier that you worked in 5 salons before you opened your own salon.
Yes.
So at this point, how many salons had you worked at? Just one or
No, no, just the five. So I worked in the very first salon I worked at. It was a booth rental salon in California. It was called Stallions. I started
okay.
off as an assistant, and then from an assistant, I rented a chair. And then when I moved to DC, I worked as an assistant at a salon on U Street called Corte. It no longer exists. Then I worked at a salon called Immortal Beloved in DC. And then from Immortal Beloved, I was also renting a chair at the back of the Springfield Mall in the beauty supply store as a commission stylist. I shouldn't say renting a chair. It was a commission stylist. And then my aunt had a salon here in Arlington when the Springfield Mall closed for renovations. I moved to my aunt's salon in Arlington, and I stayed there until 2016. And then in 2017, I opened Aesthetics.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And what were your reasons for moving from one salon to the next?
A number of things. So Stallions was the very first salon that I worked at. When I relocated to the DMV, I relocated, so I moved. When
Right.
I worked at Corte, I was an assistant there, and it was a very small boutique salon, and it just the environment and the culture didn't work out. So we ended up switching salons and went to Immortal Beloved, and really I left Immortal Beloved because I went back to college and I needed something that was a little closer because I lived in Virginia. The commute of going to Marymount, which was in Arlington, and I lived in Virginia, everything that I did, I needed to be able to go back and forth really quickly. But I will give a lot of credit to Immortal Beloved because I learned so much about salon structure and an apprentice program. I learned about like color departments and being a departmentalized salon. Growing up in specifically working with textured hair, I never really saw that because I always did booth rental or I worked in textured salon. So I really didn't see like you can just do color or you could just do cutting. And so that kind of opened up my eyes. It really exposed me and the curiosity of understanding color in a different and more in-depth way. And then after that, it really also opened my eyes positively and negatively of like, as I thought through later on, I did not want to be a salon owner. That was nothing I ever imagined. My senior year, Marymount is a liberal arts school. We have to do a presentation for your senior year where you take a whole course and you present to investors. And so at that point I was like, oh, we're gonna open a salon. And my classmates were like, sure, because I was like, I'll spearhead it. Don't worry. I could do the research. I will be the like main person in watching all of this. And so as I started to do more research and I started thinking about what textured hair salons were missing from an experience standpoint, I was like, okay, I think I'm going to open a salon. And when I started, Aesthetics was only a 2-chair, 400 square foot salon. And that opened in 2017. I signed the lease in December of 2016. And then we expanded in November 2020. I actually was in contract negotiation in the midst of December 2019 I found a larger space in the property, and we were in negotiation, and something told me like I was gonna sign the lease, and it was March, and I was like 2019, and I was like, I don't know, you guys, like 2020, I was like, we should just wait, and then the world shut down, and then I was able to negotiate better terms, and then do a full build out throughout COVID, and we opened in November 2020, the expanded space. So I had 2 spaces on the same street. a 400 square foot space and a 1,500 square foot space.
Nice. And so wait, do you still have the 400 square foot space?
I don't. So now I have the 1,500 square foot space. Right next door, I have an 800 square foot space. And right next door to that, I have a 400 square foot space. So
Oh,
we've continued to evolve.
oh,
Jumping ahead, as I think through our goal, again, salon ownership wasn't something that I aspired to have, but I do enjoy it and I love it. Education was always something that I was passionate about. Our team has continued to grow, so we've outgrown each space. So every time we outgrow a space, I'm like, okay, well, let me lease the space next door, and the space next door, and the space next door. So now I'm hoping that by the time our lease ends, our 10-year lease ends, that we would be able to purchase a building. We are a licensed, registered apprentice salon in the state of Virginia. We have 3 apprentices going through cosmetology school with us currently. So our goal is to buy a building, ground floor, have 1 large salon space, and second floor be educational.
nice. Education like a cosmetology school or more advanced education?
Both.
Both.
Cosmetology school education is one of our core values at Aesthetics. So we have roughly 6 to 8 classes a year in-house for our salon team. And then we also, being that we have the multiple spaces next door, we do rent out the salon space for other stylists coming into the area that are looking to host a class in a salon environment. So we've opened up the space to other educators to come in and teach as well.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. This is great. I think as we kind of get all this information and process it. I mean, I love your story and I love your vibe in general. And I'm curious to know, like, if anybody's watching this that is like, what do you look for when you're hiring somebody and if someone's interested in aesthetic salon?
Ambition, drive, and dedication, really, and teamwork. We like to say that we are a community salon. It's one of our 3 core values. The diversity is in our DNA, and that education is at the forefront of everything that we do. And with that education is amongst one another, as well as educating our clients. And so I think it's extremely important to have an attitude of curiosity, come from a place of curiosity, and to be a team player and to be willing to learn. We teach everybody our ways, our isms. We have our aesthetic ways of doing things, but it's extremely important to be able to put your own stroke of the brush to it or your own twist to it. So understand the fundamental principles of hairdressing. I think that that's a lost art where people, especially again, I'm going to speak more solely for the textured community. I think that a lot of people coming out of hair school are like, I want to learn whatever trends are popular now. And they forget the fundamental principles of what they learned in cosmetology school, or they don't realize how those fundamental principles they're the principles and the guiding force of where your career can go. And trends repeat. So yes, extensions may be trendy now, and these styles may be trendy now, but in 3 to 6 years, the trend is going to change. And are you able to offer those services? I remember in hair school just hating to do perms, like traditional perms, rolling a perm. But there was a point where I worked in a salon and people started requesting perms again, and I feel like that wave you see is coming back now. And in the textured hair space, it's essentially when people think about a jerry curl, and it's no longer called the jerry curl. In more recent years, it's called the Gina curl. The name has changed and it has evolved, but the fundamental technique is the exact same thing. And so for us, it's understanding that the fundamental principles of what you learn in cosmetology school are imperative for you to be successful, and have an open mind and understand that nothing we do, there is a method to our madness in our training program. And it's a 360 approach where we are trying to teach you both the business acumen, the fundamental principles of hair care, as well as doing something that's trendy and having an open line of communication with your clients. I think so much of what is happening in today's industry is that clients are dictating how things are how things are going within the industry. And stylists, we have to reclaim our authoritative voice that's rooted in education and knowledge. So as long as you're willing to learn, as long as you're willing to be of service and serve, then you would be a great candidate to join our team, and you have a communal spirit. And I remind all of the stylists that work with us that I assisted for 8 years. While I assisted for 8 years, I still took clients on my own, but I was never too good to not assist and learn from someone that came before me that had more experience.
This is so good. I'm like taking notes because I'm gonna definitely see if you're interested in these are conversations. I feel like I would love to like talking about the educated customers, AI and careers, and to getting like kind of what is it, to like staying humble and being
Yeah,
willing
staying
to.
humble. I mean, that's why, when we were talking at the start of this and you're just like, oh, celebrity hairstylist. And I'm just like, I feel like that word is used so freely these days. It's like, oh, I've worked with a celebrity, so now I'm a celebrity hairstylist. But for me, I'm like, you style behind the chair. And every woman or man that you service, every person that you service should be considered a celebrity. But I think that with social media, we are chasing these titles and validation without willing to put in the work. 20 plus years in the industry, and I don't need to be called a celebrity hairstylist. I don't need that recognition because I get more fulfillment from my everyday client, the client who comes in and just had a baby and is looking for their mommy makeover and wants to feel good or back to themselves again. That satisfaction and that validity is way more important to me than getting a tag on social media, because it's not going to translate into anything monetary for me. I say this all the
Right.
time. I tell people I got a lot of recognition working with the Obamas after President Biden's 2021 election. That's when everybody realized that I worked with Michelle. And everyone's like, how does it feel to finally, how does it feel to work with her? And I was like, I've been working with her. I haven't been working with her for the recognition. Of course, it felt amazing, like to finally get the credit to be known. But at the same time, I was still trucking along doing me. Clients in my salon were like, you never told us. I don't lead with that because I think it's extremely important for you to create your own brand. Your brand can't be associated with another person, especially a celebrity or a highly visible client. That can't be what fulfillment you are looking for in this industry, because our industry is one of the very few industries where we're licensed to touch, and we are providing a service to somebody else to help them tell their story and to help them present and look and feel good. So if our whole identity is defined or attached to one specific individual, what happens if that individual decides to relocate? What happens to your business? What happens to who you are? And I think that that's the business part of me, like my business brain that comes in and thinks about, okay, multiple streams of income. That thinks about, okay, how do you scale? How do you generate without actually physically working? What are you thinking about for retirement? I'm a mother now. I want to take ample amount of time. I took 10 months off with my son. I'm expecting in the
Nice.
next 2 weeks. I plan to take a year off with my daughter now. In order to do that, I have to be able to still generate. And so I think it's extremely important for us to start thinking through long term. And I think it's, how are you of service to people, and how do you build something that sustains and lasts beyond you physically? What happens if I injure myself? In 2015,
Right.
I was in a car accident. I couldn't work for 3 months. I have to think of other ways to generate income for my livelihood. And that's extremely important. That's what we have to really hone in on in our industry, in the beauty industry, and educate folks.
Love this. Love this. I feel like this is a great place to wrap it up. This is amazing. Thank you so much for that, all that messaging and for sharing your story. Do you have any like last pieces of advice to anybody who say like the person in cosmetology school who's thinking about their career, and maybe the salon owner or aspiring salon owner or something? Any tips for the owner and for the new person?
For the new person coming into the industry, always have a spirit of learning. You should never think that you know everything. There's always room to learn. There's always room to learn and grow and develop and cultivate your skills. and always, always practice your craft. The more you do it, the better you get. For someone aspiring to be a business owner, just know that it takes a lot of work, but you can do it. And there's an amazing community that you are joining of ownerships. There's so many different platforms and resources available to you that creates community so you don't feel like you're alone. I always extend an open invitation to anybody listening. You could message me, you could DM me, and I do respond. I take building community very seriously, and I love our industry. So there's always a resource in me. And I would, if I can't figure it out, I could direct you to someone or an area where you can get the resources. And for existing salon owners, I know that our industry has shifted so much and salon ownership has become challenging. And we don't see as many traditional salons, but hang in there because we are needed. And the community that we create is so special, not just for stylists, but for our clients that we service. So hang in there and keep doing the work.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much again for your time,
Thank
and
you.
look forward to talking to you again in the future. And until then, take care.
Take care.